O Brahman, O the limitless, O the pure consciousness, O the self of, excuse me, O the sense of self-awareness. O Brahman, O the limitless, O the boundless, O the sense of self-awareness. Lead us in your path, Brahman. O Brahman, O Paramatma, O the boundless, O the sense of self-awareness, lead us in your path. Lead us in the path which goes to you, Brahman. Lead us in the path which is the path of truth and wisdom. O Brahman, give us the clarity to, O Brahman, give us the clarity to shed our karma. O Brahman, lead us in the path of truth and wisdom. O Brahman, give us the clarity to shed our karma. O Brahman, O Paramatma, O limitless, O the boundless, we realize that how fertile human mind is. Excuse me. O Brahman, we realize, O Paramatma, O limitless, O the boundless, we realize that how fertile human mind is for the theories, for the concepts, for the ideas, for the thoughts. What are thoughts? Thought is nothing but all the data which is being recycled. Now understand, some of these thoughts are necessary so we can function in the society among other humans. You see, but some of these thoughts are dangerous, and some of these thoughts can either lead us to accumulate more karma or even more. Please understand that this is very significant. Pay attention to the words of truth and wisdom. I'm trying to tell you something. The more we go in our quest to learn the truth and wisdom, the more we do the mysticism, such as I personally do, and I go into the deep state of meditation, and I go into the deep state of samadhi, and I'm given the wisdom, and I'm given the truth. And we realize that karma is something that is not only accumulated through our action, but only if we have the thought in our mind. This topic is so large and so significant that there are no amount of words that can elaborate on this topic. Now, that's the reason, because remember, I have told you, time is an essence for me. Please remember that. Now I am on the stage in my quest to learn the truth and wisdom. Now I am now I am in a state that I have achieved what I have achieved, that what is expected or what was expected from me in this um, carnation. Carnation is shh, shh. Carnation is the knot of birth. What is in between the knot of birth and bodily demise is carnation. In this carnation, what was expected from me. I have met successfully those requirements. So if the Paramatma, if the Brahman wants me to keep going, that is fine. That is perfectly fine. But if the Paramatma or the Brahman wants me to come home, the level of energy, since the level of energy has risen very high. So the body, obviously, since this has happened to numerous yogis before and numerous mystics, that body then obviously finds a reason to let go of the life or the essence that I have collected in all these years and all the lifetime that I have lived. So I realize in my alertness, I realize in the state of meditation that karma is not only accumulated through your action, but karma is also accumulated through your thought. Only, now pay attention, this is the most significant thing. Only if you think that you identify personally yourself with the thought. That's the main point I'm trying to make without deviating or bend. You have heard the term bend or bending too much from our topic. You see, or deviating means going too far from our topic. This is the punchline that I want you to realize that you accumulate karma. This is the punchline that I want you to realize that you accumulate karma not only by your actions but by your thoughts too. Only if you personalize, only if you get identified with the thought. If you don't get identified with the thought that personally this thought is mine. You see, just because you are having a thought, just because you are having a thought, it does not mean the thought is yours. We have talked about this on and off in numerous retreats, and I have given you the example and we have proved that just because we are perceiving a thought, when we perceive through our five senses outbound, you see all the five senses, they are all outbound. I hope you are following me. The five senses, they are all outbound. Now we perceive through our five senses. Silent the mind, just pay attention to the sound of my voice. Not only we perceive through our five senses outbound, but we also perceive our thought. A person who has zero, have you seen a zero? It's round like this. A person who has zero control on their mind perceives the thought, and because the person is not alert, obviously, the person not only perceives the thought but get identified that this is my thought. On the top of that, the person says or tells themselves that thinking process or thinking is natural, you see, and half of this globe is living in that kind of illusion, rather, if you understand. Half of the globe is living in that kind of illusion, sadly and unfortunately, that they think like this. When they think like this and then they act like that, so it gives birth to mental disorders, you understand. And then they go and they find the remedy and take medications, but medications can be replaced with meditation, I promise you. You just have to be serious enough for with your well-being, and you need to be alert enough, and you have the intention basically to sort your life out, and then you take the charge on your mind and your thoughts, and then you say, this thought is not mine. Just because I'm perceiving the thought, it doesn't mean that I get identified with the thought. That's the most significant thing that you need to remember. If you are alert enough and you don't identify yourself with the thought, you will not accumulate karma. But if you have no control on your mind and your mind is going haywire and you are being personalized within your own awareness, or you are getting identified with your own awareness with the thought, you are accumulating karma. Whether you act on the thought, I hope you're understanding. Whether you act on the thought or you do not act on the thought, regardless, you are accumulating more karma just because. So remember something. Through the Kriya meditation, develop develop that gap between your mind. Then you know which thought is prompting me to perform certain actions to survive in the society among my fellow humans, and which thought is making me restless and it is going against me, what I essentially am. You see, so this is what happens. Again, since the followers here on Facebook and YouTube, they have grown in numbers, I would demonstrate again. I would never get tired to bring clarity in the human perception. This is something that I have signed up for, and I'm going to do my level best to make sure that humans now have enough clarity in their perception. I'll give you an example that no thought is your personal thought. The mind is of all humanity. The mind of you is not your personal mind, is the mind of all humanity. Please remember that. The metaphor I use is the rubber band ball. You know the rubber band ball very well now. After listening to me in numerous retreats, that I use the metaphor of rubber band ball. Now, you make a rubber band ball, you gather a bunch of rubber bands, a lot of rubber bands, and you start tying the rubber bands on rubber bands on rubber bands. And then what happens is basically you form a rubber band ball. Now all these rubber bands are tied with each other and they are overlapping basically. All these rubber bands are tied with each other and they are overlapping with each other. You see, tied and overlapping. That's why the rubber bands are holding each other and forming the ball. Imagine that rubber band ball is the mind of all humanity. I want you to imagine that. Imagine is just like that. The mind of humanity is just like that rubber band ball. Imagine that rubber band ball is the mind of all humanity. The thoughts, the rubber bands are connected, tied with each other and overlap. That's how our thoughts, the thoughts in humans, are tied with each other and overlapped. Okay, and it's flying around. So you need to create a distance from it. Otherwise, it can lead a person to accumulate more karma, or even it can be even more dangerous than that. So what the word, what the phrase we use in England, that nip the evil in the bud, that in the beginning, just anything negative, just equip yourself to defend yourself even from the very start. You see, there is no good time to start a good action. If you understand what I'm saying to you, there is no good time to start a good action. The good time to start a good action is now, in this present moment, right here, right now, while you are while you are listening to the sound of my voice and the words of truth and wisdom. Remember the rubber band ball now. I have told you that's how our thoughts are entangled, just like those rubber bands, and overlapping. You see, that's how the mind of all humanity is entangled, and that's how the mind of all humanity is overlapping. And then what happens? That, excuse me, and then what happens is you perceive a thought, you don't have clarity in your perception, you think this thought is mine. You are accumulating karma now because you are getting identified with the thought. When I was in a state of meditation, rather deep state of meditation, a few hours ago, I wake up sometime 2:30 or I wake up sometime 3 o'clock in the morning. Something which I'm trying, some sacred presence, some divine presence does not want me to sleep after 2:30, quarter to 3 or 3 o'clock at the dot. It wakes me up and it gives me so much energy within that I can't help but to get up and get ready for Kriya. This is still early. I do not know what exactly the time is, but I think it's probably 5 o'clock. Anyway, so I have been in Samadhi for quite a while, and it was given to me this awareness in Samadhi that you need to elaborate on this so that people can have the awareness and do not and are not misguided, that they can have the awareness and they can make their choice wisely. If they are alert enough, you need to bring this awareness to humans today. That's why I started speaking about it, you see, and I'm bringing the clarity which is expected from me. I would demonstrate that you decide to go in a Chinese restaurant. You say, I want to have Chinese food. You are sitting in your room. You are doing whatever you are doing. You see, you are sitting in your room. You are sitting in your room and you are doing whatever you are doing. And all of a sudden you perceive a thought, or a thought occurs to you. In other words, all of a sudden you perceive a thought, and a thought occurs in your awareness that I am craving, please follow my words, that I am craving Chinese food. So what happens first is the thought, isn't it? Then the thought, first it's the thought that occurs in your awareness or in your mind. And then what happens is you look at your sources. It means to get there, the money. Means now you are prompting on the thought. When you see everything is good, then you walk or drive depending on the distance. When you see that everything is good, depending on the distance, that you either walk or you either drive, and you arrive at the Chinese restaurant, where because you are, remember, I said not long ago that you are craving the Chinese food. So you arrive over there and in the restaurant to fulfill your desire, to meet your craving. And when you go inside, you see that 10, 15, or probably 20 other people, 25 other people are already sitting in the Chinese restaurant. Do you know what that mean is? It means that the same thought basically, it means the same thought has occurred in each one of those people at some point. The thought you thought basically is your personal thought. Now you understand the metaphor of this. First, it is a thought which occurs, then you check your resources, and when everything is okay, you arrive at the Chinese restaurant. You see 20, 25 other people are sitting in the Chinese restaurant. And the same thought obviously occurred in those 20, 25 people at some point in time that occurred to you, that I'm craving Chinese food. That's why they are sitting in the Chinese restaurant, isn't it? But just because you perceive the thought, you thought this thought is mine. If this thought solely was your thought, you would be the only one, but there are other people. It means at some point in time, these people, they had the same exact thought. You see, same exact thought. So the mind, if you are perceiving the thought, it does not, you personally are perceiving the thought, but the thought is not yours in any way. So through the Kriya meditation, you learn to create distance. Then you look at the thought. You say, do I want to act on the thought? If it is friendly, if it is telling you a good deed, if it is telling you about self love, about compassion, anything which goes in your favor, anything which goes in the accord, excuse me, in that accord, if you understand what I'm saying, anything which goes in your favor, anything which goes in accord with you, that you are comparable. If the thought is not going against you, if the thought is prompting you to do some good to yourself and those around you, then of course it's worth to embrace. You understand? It's worth to embrace the thought, because this thought is bringing happiness in your life, you see. But a thought which is telling you that why you are such a failure, or creating, God forbid me, fear in you, or paranoia, or self-doubt, obviously, this thought is not worth entertaining. This thought, but you can only be alert when you can see the movement of thought. If you understand, you can only be alert and clear in your mind when you can see the movement of thought, that how the thought is rising and how the thought is prompting you to do something. You see, you can only be, because first is the thought, then the thought becomes the thought. First is the thought, then it's the intention, and then the action. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, which is the sacred book in Hinduism, word karma is used more than any word in Bhagavad Gita, because karma is everything that we deal with on the regular basis while we are here in this three-dimensional reality to shed the karma. I'm trying to make a point. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, any time when they say karma, on some places very precisely, they talk about thinking process or thought. You see, because it's related to each other. If you get identified with it, it becomes your thought. And if it becomes your thought and the thought is negative, um, the chances of accumulating more karma are very clear. So everything comes down to, how do I become clear enough in my perception? Isn't it? All this, that what I'm saying, it comes down to, how do I become clear enough in my perception? How do I know which thought is from sacred and which thought is from demons? You see, that only can happen through a natural process when you learn, even for some time. That can only happen. That can only that can happen. No other way. You can take pills. You can go to the doctor. You can abuse different type of substances or alcohol, addiction towards food, the video games, and all this you are doing so you can avoid life. You understand? And you can avoid the thought, um, without having any clarity. But everything that you are seeking some type of break from the thinking process or the life for some time, you are looking outside of yourself. When the source of creation is coming from within, how can you change or treat something? That's the right word I'm looking for in English. When the source of creation is coming from within, how can you change, and how can you um, treat? How can you find the remedy of the problem outside? It's not possible. I'm sharing with you pure wisdom, so please pay attention. It's not possible. Timely relief, timely relief, perhaps for some time. People are drinking excessively, and then timely relief, they become numb, and the humans, they start making foolish mistakes, you see, because after a certain period of time, it takes charge of the human. And then hangover, I'm just giving you one example. You see, one example, it means that goes to every addiction that human develop, you see. It's not worth it. It's not the matter of sin and virtue. It's not the matter of morality. It's the matter of common sense. It's the matter of wisdom. You destroy yourself, you sleep, you avoid, you have a hangover, nothing looks good afterwards. Um, then it goes to every addiction, not only just alcohol. Then it goes to then it goes to every addiction, if you understand what I'm saying to you. So the source of creation is within creation. The source of me is within me. It can only be changed. The thinking process can be treated. The mind can be treated only from within. You see, it is not possible. Timely relief you may get, but it's not worth to have timely relief, because if you are depending on the timely relief, you are developing an addiction, because you are going to do it on the regular basis, you see. And this was addiction is when you prompt on a memory. You are not using your free will, you are prompting on a memory of the last time when you used that thing which you are addicted to. Have you noticed that addiction is acting on the memory of that particular commodity when you use that particular commodity to bring a fake sense of fulfillment within you, and the happiness, the timely happiness you achieve, you remember that basically, and then you go over there to perform it over and over and over. You act on the memory. When, as long as you keep acting on the memory, you cannot use your free will. You have to free your will before you act on your memory. You see, if that's what free will is. Free will can bring tremendous happiness in your life if you do not act under the influence of memory or karma. Please remember that. So first free your will. As I said not long ago, the source of creation, when the source of creation is within creation, any type of thinking process or any of these things cannot be treated, or we cannot find the remedy outside of the being. It's within. And everything comes down to practical. All my recent retreats, I'm telling you to do the practical. All my recent retreats, one way or another, I'm giving you, I'm still delivering the words of truth and wisdom. But I am telling you non-stop that everything comes down to practical, which is Kriya meditation. The simplest way, the most natural way, the simplest way, the most natural way, which doesn't cost us anything. You see, other addictions cost you a lot too. That's one of the negative point, because it costs you. But this remedy, the Kriya meditation, does not cost you anything. And you are now treating the problem. You are finding remedy for the problem from within. That's what my thing is. So let's meditate. You like these? Have you noticed these dangling earrings? Have you noticed these dangling earrings? You see, they're pretty. I love them. I was given this yesterday from my baby, from my spouse, from my best half, all the pet words we use for our partners. When the life is around, we nurture the life. You see, we nurture as much as we can. We protect the life. But we have the sense of awareness that it belongs to consciousness, chit, or sense of self-awareness solely. In religious circle, You can call it God, you see. So my spouse, Bridget, she made these for me. And it has Om sign, you see, and it's so beautiful. So I put these on today. She likes to dress me up, you see. She likes to dress me up, and I love it. And I love, excuse me, and I love her. So I'm wearing these today. All right, let's meditate for some time before it's time for a private session. If you are interested, you can also do private session. If you are interested, all you gotta do is to write me and we can work something out.